on one hand, your child's nervous system is going to have less stress, less pressure going at it. And then on the other side, it's naturally, they're going to get more sleep, more physical activity, greater likelihood of being out in the sun, vitamin D, sweating, detoxing. And there's one more awesome thing on the list. Welcome to the Experience Miracles podcast, where we help parents find hope, answers, and drug-free help to overcome your child's chronic health challenges. I'm your host, Dr. Tony Ebel, and I'll be sharing my experiences as both a dad and a doctor on every episode. I can take the latest science and neurology of healing and break it down in the most simple and relatable way possible. We'll take on the toughest topics and answer your biggest questions through interviews with other amazing parents and leading experts, leaving you with practical action steps that you can take to help your child heal and thrive. It's time to expect and experience miracles. Let's get started. Oh man, parents, we made it. It is summer. So if you're a parent, right, and your kids have grown up in this last couple of years, you probably have seen the movie Frozen movies. How many did that? How many rounds did Elsa and Anna make into our lives? I can't remember. I think there was a Frozen 2. But in those movies is this just legendary snowman character called Olaf. And Olaf, at least for me, the song that really stung with me. And don't worry, I'm not going to sing on the podcast. We're 100 plus episodes in, and I don't think I've busted your eardrums yet by singing, because I can't sing, so it wouldn't be called that. But Olaf just hits it. He's like, it's summer. Oh, I did it. But I didn't hit it as well as Olaf is. And so some of you might be listening this 6 months after it drops and it's the middle of winter, and others live in other climates and other places. And you're like, what is this nut job talking about? Well, as of recording this deep dive episode as to why summer, which we could also just say a break from school and the social pressures and the academic pressures and getting up early and keeping everything organized. So we're going to get into this, why summer is the perfect time to take a break from ADHD and neuropsychiatric medications. And so this is just something I've been very passionate about. And really, we have seen our greatest clinical results in healing neurological helping. We do not do the healing. In fact, I'm going to go right into my scientific explanation and disclaimer that we don't treat, we don't cure, we don't diagnose just next, because it's really, really important to lead with this. But we've seen the most amount of healing. We see the fastest neurological restoration and healing for the brain and the nervous system in summer. I'm going to give you all the reasons why that happens. Quicker, faster, cleaner, better in summer. We tend to get quicker results. We see a smoother pathway. We see more full and complete healing when we get to apply neurologically-focused chiropractic care, natural, drug-free, options and solutions for kids and families with ADHD and so forth. We see the best results by far. It's not even close in these couple of months of summer. And there's a whole lot of neuroscience that is really quite common sense. Like a lot of the stuff we talk about here on the podcast, we are always diving deep into the neuroscience, deep into nervous system dysregulation, vagus nerve dysfunction, birth trauma, perfect storm, the cerebellum, the prefrontal cortex, you name it, we're nerdy. And at the same time, we keep it simple. We keep it common sense, because that's what medicine is lost. The deeper we get into just advanced scientific understanding, it seems like, the more medicine just loses traditional, quote unquote, modern medicine, the more they just lose what's right in front of their faces and say, this isn't working. Okay, so let me get into the very important disclaimer before we dive in. It is important that I am crystal clear that as a neurologically focused pediatric chiropractor, I do not diagnose and we do not treat ADHD or any other condition I may bring into the conversation today. And we definitely do not make decisions. We don't even get within a stratosphere of making decisions about medications. What we share here on the podcast and on our PX Talks platform is for educational, empowering, informational purposes only, and should never be taken as medical advice. If your child is on medications, you're considering medications, the medication conversation needs to happen with doctors who went to school to prescribe them and control things there, right? So it's got to be done with a medical doctor. If you're considering changing your child's medication regimen, please absolutely positively consult your prescribing physician. The information you're about to learn with this is going to be very helpful to you in that conversation. And you absolutely positively need to have a prescribing physician or physician of any kind that is one who listens and collaborates and puts together a care plan, a treatment plan in partnership with you. So this is a perfect time while reading the disclaimer to also really teach you one of the most foremost principles that we will never shut up about on this podcast, which is that's your child. Their healthcare decisions are yours. Every doctor, no matter their initials, no matter their education, and no matter what they are bringing to the table for care or for treatment, so care in our world, treatment in their world, they work for you. Do not forget that, okay? So as a parent, we feel it is essential to get online, to get on the podcast, to get into the research, to get into webinars, to get into summits, to get into books, to get educated, to get empowered, to get informed, so that when you get into that conversation, it actually is a conversation. So that when you get providers on your team, it's done in partnership, not dictatorship. And so our goal is to help parents better understand these neurophysiological components of ADHD and how neurologically focused chiropractic care and non-medication interventions may support your child's overall nervous system regulation, function, healing, and quality of life. We don't diagnose because we don't treat, because we don't even pretend to cure, because we know that the best cure and the best healing doesn't come from the outside. It doesn't come from a specific doctor. It doesn't come from a specific medication. It doesn't come from a specific supplement or a specific diet change. The best healing happens from the inside. Everything your child needs to heal is in there. What is happening the vast majority of the time is there is just neurological interference, disconnection, disorganization, dysregulation. There is things in the way of that healing happening and optimal function happening. And in that gap, in that imbalance, is where conditions like ADHD and fill in the blank set up shop and do their damage. So if that healing is in there, and what we know is causing ADHD and causing certain neurostress, neurosensory-based conditions is too much stress stuck in the nervous system, too much coming at it, and it can't adapt, and it can't regulate, and it can't calm, and it can't focus because it's so stuck in this loop of sympathetic fight or flight dominance. That's the core neurology behind ADHD. I'm going to get into the neurology of ADHD with this conversation today, but I'm not going to go as deep as the deep dive full episode where we went into ADHD. If you've not had that, if you haven't gone, 5 layers deep into the neuroscience of ADHD, when you're done listening to this one about how summer is a great time to kind of take what has been, people do this all the time, all of the time. In fact, even some medical doctors that I talk to and work with recommend this to let the brain and the nervous system and the chemistry heal, even if they're not, putting forth these natural healing-based, catalysts and sparks like chiropractic in that time frame. We're going to do both. We're not only going to let the brain heal and have a breather, we're going to add good. We're going to add healing. We're going to add input that helps the brain and nervous system restore function and regulate while taking the break in a perfect scenario. But this is something that's long been recommended, and it's really, really important to know, yes, all the neuroscience behind ADHD. And so when you're done with this one, if you want to nerd out even more and you really fully want to understand what's causing ADHD and the neuroscience behind it, I'll get deep here, but there is an episode that will drop in the show notes where I went even deeper, and you can click on that when you're done listening to this one and really dive into it, okay? So here's the big picture of this conversation here today. The summer time, the school break time, is the time where your child has less stress and less demand coming at their brain and nervous system. So we're going to get granular with this like we always do, but you're going to get the most out of it if you see the simplicity of this, if you see the big picture of this. Because underneath the hood, beneath the surface of what's really causing ADHD and really causing neurostress, neurosensory, even anxiety and autism and other sort of cases like this, it's a nervous system that is stuck and overwhelmed and overloaded with stress. ADHD is a nervous system that is stuck on the gas pedal, the fight or flight, protective, what's called sympathetic fight or flight response 24/7, 365, or at least most of the time. And what triggers that sympathetic fight or flight response to be on too much? Too much stress coming at them too often from all directions, all day, every day. That's one half of the coin that causes ADHD. The other half of the equation is too little regulation, resilience, and the too little suppressed side of the nervous system called the parasympathetic vagus nerve side of the nervous system. That's our rest, regulate, concentrate, focus, make good decisions side of the nervous system is called the parasympathetic. It's called the para because it's the opposite. It's the brake pedal. It's the balancing side of the nervous system. And what we know about ADHD is the underpinnings neurophysiologically are not a chemical imbalance first. They're not genetic first. They're environmental, causing a nervous system imbalance. Too much stress coming at them, too little of an ability to adapt to it, to regulate and stay calm through all of that busyness. So when is that going to get worse? Actually, usually right before school gets out. So the toughest time in our practice, so our practice takes care of neuro cases, okay? We take care of ADHD, we take care of anxiety, we take care of epilepsy, we take care of autism. Spring and the late fall to holiday season are the toughest times to get kids better. And that actually kind of proves our theory of this conversation here today as well, because those are high stress times. Those are when spring neuroimmune challenges, there's seasonal changes, there's daylight savings, the immune system is going through certain things. School is crazy. There's usually standardized testing and final exams and concerts and, all sorts of different projects that are due. There's tons of concerts in the holidays. There's Christmas concerts. There's holiday parties, so there's sugar coming at them all over the place, right? So when school and sports are maxed out, the brain's nervous system sympathetic dominance is maxed out. So I bring that into the conversation to say, guess what? That doesn't happen during summer. So during summer, let's get to the good. During summer, kids don't have the daily demands of school. And remember, school doesn't just bring demands of sitting. That's a huge thing where they sit and they're stuck in a chair. We've really taken away. Movement is the number one thing that calms the brain and helps the brain concentrate. That's just neuroscience, okay? And so one, they're stuck sitting in school all day. Inside, not exposed to nature, not where it's calming and regulating and relaxing. And then two, there's all of the pressure of school. I got to pay attention. I got to turn this assignment in. I got to keep track of everything. I got a test coming up. I got a quiz coming up. We got a project. We got a presentation I'm nervous about. So school brings forth a lot of sedentary, inside, stuck living. That's not good for the brain and nervous system. That's going to make ADHD worse. School brings in a lot of academic school pressure, trying to keep up with homework and projects and grades and everything else. And guess what happens? What else happens at school? All the social pressures, right? So that's where there's a lot of times this blend or kind of duality of struggle with the school-based challenges and then the behavior challenges, acting out, getting in trouble, being impulsive, being angry, or being anxious. There is the majority of kiddos that we see in this neuro world where their nervous system is stuck on sympathetic fight or flight and they struggle with school. It's not always just grades and paying attention. And it's often behavior, emotions, and everything all worn together. Now, before we talk about how good of an idea it might be for your family, again, in consultation with the doctors who have prescribed the medication, if that's your family, but why it might be a good idea to take a breather during summer is because these ADHD medications and really all neuropsychoactive medications, they come with a lot of side effects. The short-term side effects, all the side effects of these medications are too long, too nasty, too much to even list. I'd have to be on the podcast for an hour with you guys. But the sleep problems, the emotional swings, the appetite suppression, the headaches, the motor tics, so many tics come with ADHD meds, especially the longer that a child is on them. And those are short, kind of blending into long-term effects. And the long-term concerns is it really masks the symptoms. It doesn't address the root cause. And a lot of times what happens is it's that old story of the little old lady who swallowed the spider to swallow the fly. And now you got this medication and it was working at first. Hey, when we first turned it on, school was better. They were able to pay attention. But then their sleep started to become a mess. So now we're on a medication for that. And then their emotions started to become a mess. So now we're on Zoloft for that. And then the medication that was originally prescribed for the ADHD, well, it's not doing as good a job. Now they're starting to struggle with hyperactivity, impulsivity, and focus again. So we're going to go up on the original dosage. Well, now we went up on the dosage, including other medications, and now that's not even doing the job. So now you go back to the neurologist or pediatrician or combination, whoever's prescribing these, and like, let's try a new one because there's different ADHD. Let's go from Strattera to Vyvanse to... Guys, I've been in practice for nearly 20 years. I've seen it all. Once it starts, it's so hard to get a hold of. And what it really starts to be like is those doctors with their prescribing pads and their pen. Okay, I know it's done on a freaking iPad probably nowadays. I'm old, but they're just throwing darts. Let's try this one. Let's just hang right there, parents. Is that what you want? Do you want to just try 5 more milligrams, 20 more milligrams? Do you want to just try a new medication? Shouldn't there be more advanced testing and customization and personalization to your child's specific neurophysiological dysregulation, nervous system imbalance, and dysfunction patterns that would say, hey, here's my child's exact root cause of their ADHD challenges. So now that you have the exact root cause neurophysiological dysfunction pattern mapped out, because you ran a test, right, before you recommended treatment? Not right in the medical world. There is no physiological test for ADHD. They have you fill out surveys and questionnaires. They blame genetics and chemical imbalance, and then they give you chemistry and they try it and they see if it works. And for this conversation about taking a breather during summer, it might actually symptomatically on the surface make behaviors, focus, concentration, impulsivity, anger better. You might be seeing, again, key disclaimer, symptomatically the results you were looking for. But as a parent, we know, especially parents of today, are looking for a path to the other side of getting those results without medication. I literally, almost 20 years of clinical practice, working with thousands of kids with ADHD who are either, and thousands on medication when we started with them, and thousands not. And every single one, 100% of the time, because I ask this question every single time, in an ideal world, and again, we're the kind of doctors who ask these questions, so I think these are the kind of doctors you're looking for. We ask, what would your ideal state be, mom and dad? If we could get to the root cause, get your child's brain and nervous system back into balance, back into regulation, back into function. If it isn't true that they're broken genetically, let's say that the genetic theory has been disproven. It has. Let's say that the chemical imbalance theory isn't all it's cracked up to be. It isn't. And so if we teach them all this and then we ask them the question and we say, hey, in an ideal world, would you have your child get better and have the highest quality of life without medications or with medications? Not a single parent I've ever met has said, oh, we love to keep these psychoactive class 2 narcotic medications in our child's nervous system and brain for life. Because we know they're a Band-Aid, we know they're addressing the symptoms only, and we know they come with a long host of side effects. So let's come back to our central thesis of today's episode. Why is summer such an ideal time to step back? I love the simplicity of this message, and I want you to get really excited right now. And I want you to know that this is the very best time. That's why we're dropping the episode right now, because it can be really scary to see your kiddo struggle with ADHD. It can be really disheartening. Talk about stressing your nervous system, right? It can be really scary, really disheartening, really discouraging to see them struggle so much that it does make sense to put them them on a medication and say, hey, we just need a breather. We just need to, they're getting in trouble so often. They're struggling so much in school. We got to do something. We got to throw them, a crutch here. We got to throw them a lifeline here and get their head above water neurologically. So it can be a really tough decision to have put them on a medication. And we're not done with the tough decisions. It can be a really tough decision to say, hey, can we talk to our doctor? Can we talk to the doctor who prescribed this medication while also bringing in other doctors and providers who are actually going to get to the root cause? So we're going to combine all this together before we're done. Can we really consider taking a break for summer? And you absolutely positively can have those conversations. You absolutely positively can have those considerations. And there's never a better time to do it than when they have less stress, less pressure. No school, fewer expectation. They don't have the test. They don't have the classroom noise, behavior, social, emotional demands. You know what also they can do in summer? Sleep more, go outside more, and be active more, be in nature more. I'm going to get real nerdy, but also real simple. They can actually sweat more. Do you know that toxins and really gastro-immune inflammation and inability to properly have detoxification and elimination of these toxins, which then trigger the sympathetic nervous system and cause fight or flight behavior, ADHD sort of behaviors and issues? Do you know that sweating is the #1 best detoxer ever? So summer is a great time to go out and do that. Did you know that swimming is actually very calming and regulating to the nervous system? So jumping in the water, jumping in the pool, going and doing those things. Have you ever been on a boat? Anyone? Let's go all the way. Let's get fun. Let's do this Tony style. I'm a Midwesterner, Have you ever been on a pontoon? Have you ever seen someone, just like I told you before, I've never met a person who said, I would love to keep my child on these ADHD medications. I hope they become dependent upon them for life because I believe the genetic theory and they're just broken and there's no way they'll be at their best without Strattera. I've never met a parent who said that. I've never met somebody who was grumpy on a pontoon, okay? Never, ever, ever in my life. If you've never been on a pontoon, you now have a new life goal, okay? Wherever you're listening from, okay? You live in the mountains. I don't know how you're going to get a pontoon up there, but I think you should come down from the mountain, find yourself to a nice Midwestern lake in the middle of summer and get on a pontoon. And then you'll remember this podcast and you'll go, that Dr. Tony guy, he sure knows what he's talking about when it comes to nervous system regulation and relaxation. Now, I don't actually own a pontoon because actually even more regulating and more calm than that, in my humble neurological farmer opinion, is living on a farm. So we spend a lot of time in the summer straight chilling on the farm. And that's the whole point of this. Summer is the best time for the nervous system to relax and heal. Because guess what relaxing is? Healing. Guess what sleeping is? Healing. Guess what movement is? Healing. And there's actually a couple more things on my list. Summer is the easiest time to make good, healthy foods. It's hard, isn't it, as a parent, getting your kids up in the morning, getting them a healthy breakfast, getting them to eat it, especially if they're ADHD and all they want is carbs, getting a healthy lunch packed or relying on the school. The school's not going to give them healthy lunch. I mean, hopefully yours does. You've got a unicorn school. That'd be wonderful. And then you're just busy, right? You got school, you got projects, you're picking them up, you got sports. So don't we eat out a whole lot more during the school year versus at home when you can grill, make smoothies, make vegetables? Like the summer time is the best time to let your child's brain and nervous system relax and heal and find its way back to a true baseline. And there's one more awesome thing on the list. Your schedule is also so much more wide open in summer. So let's say that's when you start your child's neurologically focused chiropractic care plan, which for ADHD and neurological conditions, again, I got to generalize this, and we don't do that in practice. We give very specific, custom personalized care plan recommendations and adjustment protocols and just overall natural drug-free care protocols to our patients. But in summer, it's actually the easiest to stick to the schedule of high frequency chiropractic because, again, you got less on your schedule. So what's amazing about going full send on neurologically focused chiropractic during the summer is, on one hand, your child's nervous system is going to have less stress, less pressure going at it. And then on the other side, it's naturally, they're going to get more sleep, more physical activity, greater likelihood of being out in the sun, vitamin D, sweating, detoxing. connecting to nature, swimming, eating healthy foods, really focus on healthy foods and nutrition during the summer months. And it's easiest ever to get into the chiropractor, to get them adjusted, and to do those things during summer. That 8 to 10 to 12 week period, honestly, because of everything we are neurologically mapping out and mathing out here on this episode, we see more healing during the 10 to 12 week summer breaks for our ADHD neurosensory cases. We can get more change on their insight scans. And I know every time I'm doing a podcast, I have to reference these scans, which are very visual. So they do a lot of color mapping, and there's a lot of, just like any good testing, you'll be able to see visuals of your child's nervous system dysfunction and dysregulation. If you've gotten into a neurologically focused office, a PX office, and gotten these insight scans, we can actually find the root, real neurological dysfunction cause of ADHD through these scans. So we like to say we don't guess, we test. Medicine with ADHD, just guessing, not even testing, just throwing darts like we talked about before. Not us. We're not treating, we're not curing, we're finding the root cause through the insight scans. You got to get the thermal EMG and HRV scans on your child if they have ADHD challenges of any kind. And so we track our changes with getting kids better, not by symptoms, not by conditions. That's not the goal of our call. Our care isn't deemed a success or failure based upon whether the symptoms. Now, as a parent, that's what we're looking for, right? But as a clinician who is neurologically focused and principled in what we do, we are restoring function. We are in charge of restoring function and regulation to the nervous system. And you better believe that when that happens fully, completely, incredibly, what happens to the symptoms and the conditions? Yeah, they usually peace out, right? That's just kind of how this maps out. But what I'm talking about here with summer and these 8, 10, 12 weeks, when a family has all the awesomeness of summer at play, they take a breather from the medication, because remember, the medication is going to chemically manipulate neurological function. It's going to be in the way. It is. It just gets in the way of healing because that's its job, right? It's going to trick the system. So if they have all the good things happening in summer, they talk with their doctor. Third disclaimer here, this is not something the chiropractor can help you sort out. We can have this informed, empowering, educational conversation, but then you got to go talk to your prescribing doctor and say, hey, we want to take a breather for summer. Help us do that safely and effectively. So if we can get the awesomeness of summer, step 1, we can get a medication breather, step 2, and we can go full send on a neurologically focused chiropractic care plan, we see more neurological restoration, reorganization, improvement of function and nervous system regulation in that 90-day period than it takes us. It would take us 6 to 8 months to get that much change into the nervous system, generally during the school year. So we actually are able to trim back our clinical recommendations if we're starting care where I practice. School gets out in the late May to June area. So if I'm onboarding and starting a kiddo with care during the month of June, at the very beginning of summer, to be very clear and really drive this message home for you, we will actually trim a month or 2 off the duration of their care plan recommendation, because we know we can get so much more healing happening naturally, neurologically, during those first 8 to 12 weeks of the summer care plan. It's incredible. It's neurological. It's absolutely common sense, not complicated, and super simple all at the same time. If you have any questions about this, and this sounds like, goodness gracious, let's go, it's summer, my kids are out of school too, or they're about to be, this is the time. And also, I just want to encourage families, I want to throw this in as a little bit of a PS and an overtime. 1, it's the greatest time to get started. If you haven't yet, sprint, digitally, sprint your fingers to the PX Docs directory, www.pxdocs, so pxdocs.com. Right on the homepage is our directory. Get scheduled. You fill out a form right there. Get scheduled. Get into that office. Get started. Like speed. Call the, get connected to the office. Be like, we're starting today. Dr. Tony said, all right, summer's the best time. Don't waste a day. I mean it. I'm being a lot because I mean to be a lot, because this is the greatest healing season for your child ever. But I want to seek this in overtime. If you right now are already under care and your kiddo has plateaued and maybe even regressed seizures, behavior, anxiety, sleep, some of these ADHD things have been worse over April and May, And the last season, well, that's also normal because it's the reverse of summer. It's the busiest time of the year. Their neuroimmune systems are going through it. School's crazy. Sports are crazy. Parents are crazy. Teachers are crazy. Classmates are crazy. So don't worry too much more if you've been plateaued, stuck, regressed, or really kind of struggling right now. If you're already under care, you're about to get this massive momentum boost with summer and reach a whole nother stage or stages and phases of healing by staying the course through summer for all the same reasons we talked about in this one right here. So, final take-home summary. When it comes to ADHD and these different challenges with your kiddo, your child is not broken. There is not something wrong with their brain. In fact, please listen to my whole deep dive ADHD. If I went into a medical doctor's office and I did their testing, because they don't, if I filled out their paperwork, their survey, yeah, ADHD right here. And I literally thank God for it every single day in my prayers. It's not a curse. It's not a disorder. It's actually a superpower and advantage when you learn to harness the vagus nerve, the parasympathetic system, and keep nervous system function and regulation, allow it through neurologically focused chiropractic and clean living, healthy living. You can then allow your child's regulation, brake pedal, handling side of the brain to keep up with their gas pedal brain. Now that's the kid who's going to change the world. So ADHD is a superpower, and I want you to listen to the entire deep dive episode where I get real personal and even more neurophysiological into the science than I did with this one. But it is true. Your child's not broken. This is not just a genetic condition that is deemed to be a struggle forever and there's nothing you can do about it. They do not need to be medicated into silence or compliance. They need understanding. They need empathy. They need compassion. They need a care plan and an approach that suits them and matches them and is personalized and customized to the way God made them. They need support, and most of all, they need natural root cause nervous system healing. So again, get to the directory, get to the website. We've got tons of articles about this. If you love to read and you want to get into the neuroscience about how this neurologically focused chiropractic care works, it's on the website. If you want to get into the neuroscience about how ADHD, autism, these things aren't really genetic and we're not just prescribing them, catching them more like they said, but it's really, we're as off track within the medical system as you could get with telling people the truth. That's on there too, okay? So all of the research, all the articles are on the website. Talk to your doctor. If this is the best path this summer for your family and you know it, you're in charge. You're your child's best advocate and most important chief hope dealer and play caller to get things in play and maybe to get things out of the way. So if that's your family and that's how this maps out for you, talk to your prescribing doctor about considering a summer break and then pair that with a nervous system focused all-in healing plan. And I think when we get into late August and September, I don't even want to think about it right now because literally I'm going from recording this in the studio to my kids what are called character blessings. They go to this incredible Christian school and each teacher just grabs a scripture and grabs a verse and that it describes them. I'm about to go to the greatest celebration. We're about to roll into summer. I got to bring back Olaf? It's summer. Oh my gosh, we're going to keep that on the podcast? We shouldn't. Might have just lost some listenership right there. And then right there, I almost kind of like that immediately just went into Nelly. And now I went from Olaf to rapping Nelly. So I really feel like if you know Nelly and you're like a 90s to 2000s hip hop, you're probably I'm a bigger fan of you. And it's also probably a really sure sign that I should just finish the sign off of this podcast. Go pick up my kids, celebrate the end of the school year and into summer. And I really hope this one matches perfectly in timing for your family as well. I love you. I really am so thankful and so grateful to each and every one of you who listens to the podcast. And if I could ask, I don't do a good job of doing this. I probably haven't done it the last 20 times. But if you could share this podcast today, especially send this one out. And if you haven't left a review, if you're listening on Apple, if you're listening on Spotify, could we ask for 2 more minutes of your time? Could you go to where you're listening, grab the spot where you can leave a review, and if you haven't yet, throw us a review. That will help us reach so many more kids with this message of hope, answers, and drug-free, let's go, healing. We do it all year long. Summer's just the best time to get that job done. God bless y'all.